Hey y'all. All right, so in March, I read 14 books, which means we will be here for a while. But more than that, it means that I probably read something that you will enjoy. So stick around. Hey, book people, I'm Shay. Welcome back to the channel, MsMalcolmHughes. And today we are going to be talking about all of the books I read in March. So let's get right into it. These will kind of be broken up by genre, but other than the first book I'll discuss, all of them are some version of romance. So there's that. But this first book that I want to discuss is Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. This is actually a novel written in verse. And this is a story about a young boy whose big brother has recently been killed. And based on the rules of the street, he understands that revenge is a must. He knows where his brother kept his gun, and so the next day he takes it and plans to go kill the guy he believes has killed his brother. He has no proof of this, but it has to be him. And so he hops on the elevator to go down, and that's when everything changes and we get into the bulk of our story. At each floor, he encounters someone who has some level of experience or what he is going through, and they share their stories with him. And so this was actually a very unique way of telling this story, and I really appreciated it. I really liked Reynolds' writing. In my notes, I said that I felt like he did a really good job of maximizing the use of space, and I will take a moment to actually show you all how it is inside. So it really is in verse. And I feel like that's hard to do, but it was so well done. I like the use of the names. Like I have in my notes, I was like William Hollowman. I was like, I'm sure that last name has a purpose. And I really liked that some of the comparisons when he talks about, for instance, at one point he talks about the blood on the ground looked like chocolate syrup. And that really solidified, without saying it, the youthfulness of our protagonist and also the losing of that, right? Having to compare these this traumatic event to such childlike things, but then also the decision to take someone's life is not easy and is not a decision that a child should have to make, or anyone, but that juxtaposition. One thing that really stuck with me here, so these are all the pros, was when he talks about children using that yellow caution tape after the crimes, that next day, they wear it around them as mummies. And that really made me think of like that literal Walking Dead, in the sense that you're taking something that's put there to represent death and they take it and they wrap it around themselves as a game. And just again, the lack of understanding of the depth of what's really happening here, but also understanding the traumatic and painful things that children have to deal with early on, and what you become accustomed to, and what as an adult you're desensitized to because you were exposed so early. I'd never really thought of it that way, and I had seen it growing up, so that's why it was so vivid to me, but I'd never pondered on it that way, and that was really impactful. I said there was a parts that were funny. I liked the humor in it because at one point he talks about turning 13 and his big brother spraying him with his favorite cologne and him going around the girl that he really liked, and she didn't like it, and so he decided to stop going out with her because he said her nose was funny acting. And I said that's facts. I said this is a culturally black book, a black AF book is what I said, in the sense that the cultural references, things that are there. If you grew up in an urban environment, these are things that you're accustomed to. The jokes that are made, the depiction of clothing, it's just things that put you in a place and time of black culture. I did say that the elements, so this is a bit of a spoiler, but the people who are visiting him really put me in the mind of A Christmas Carol, in the sense that before he has this huge decision to make, these people are coming to like warn him and tell their tales of what happened to them and their experiences. And it does impact the decision that he makes. I also say that this was really relevant because I think that it's the importance of family And if all these people in this elevator, if they could have these real conversations with him and others in these moments, that it can be transformational for everyone, preventing generational trauma and just having these honest conversations. And in the end, I said it was so good. It really makes me ponder and feel. And I hope this book lands in the right hands of the young people who need it. And it is for YA. Anyone can read it. I enjoyed it. But I think that adults sometimes forget how much our youth go through and how hard it is, and so many decisions that are just made without the consultation of adults, but making real life decisions. And so I also like that at the end of the book, we don't know the decision that's made, but there's an invitation that's given. But going through the process and the emotions and everything of what he was feeling, and as someone who lost their brother to gun violence, I understood his range of emotions. I understood his thought process. I understood his desires. And so I thought that to take that and to conceptualize it in such a way, and then to put the elements of you're confined to this elevator, you can't get off, but all of these people are visiting you to try to advise you. It's just, I thought it was so so good. So I didn't have cons. I didn't have cons. They were only pros. So no cons for me on this. I greatly enjoyed it. I ended up giving this a read now. All right, so now we're going to get into the romance. So one of the books I read was actually The Boyfriend Project by Farrah Rochon. I have had this book for years and have been meaning to get to it, so I finally did, and I was excited. So with this one, we have the story of, it starts off a little dramatic. We have our protagonist who is getting ready to go meet up with their boo for some late night drinks. They're with their sister. Their sister is on Twitter following this live story of this woman who is at dinner with this man, and she knows that he's full of BS, right? She knows that everything he sent is a lie. The car he sent is his, is rented. All these things. She's tweeting it in real time. And our protagonist realizes that this is the man she's supposed to meet up with later. And he told her that he had a family emergency. So he had to cancel on dinner, but they could do late night drinks because he took this woman to the same restaurant that they were supposed to go to. But then another woman shows up as well because the woman there is tweeting about what they had. And she's talking about the food. And the other woman is like, I know that car. I know that restaurant. I know that meal. And so they get there at the same time. It's a whole to do, which is exciting to read, but embarrassing for our characters. And so our main character, who we see here, she is embarrassed. She works for this tech company. So she's embarrassed when she goes to work. Everyone's seen it. It is viral. So she's dealing with that. Her and the other two women decide to remain close. After a bonding experience like that, they ended up going out, drinking. They woke up the next morning at her house, like laid out. And you kind of bond over that, right? Certain things you build a connection around. And so with that, they end up coming together to make this pact, the boyfriend project, in the sense that for the next 6 months. They're not focused on men or dating. They are focused on their passion projects and getting those off the ground. But you know what happens when you say that you're not looking for one thing, it finds you. And so we then have our other main character, the gentleman that you see here. He is actually undercover at her tech company trying to discover who is illegally funneling money. But he doesn't tell her this because he's undercover and he's not supposed to like anyone, fall for anyone. He doesn't date when he goes undercover. It's just complicated and messy. And he gets in, he gets out. But from the moment he sees our protagonist, Samaya, he is hooked. And so they fight it. It becomes a whole to do. We go on this journey with them of fighting it. Do they act on it? Will it last once his secret is revealed? All of that. Overall, I ended up feeling like this book was cool. I think the premise, at first, it was like a little slow dragging. I said the last quarter really picked up and I really got more into it then. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I thought it was cool. A concept I ended up, like I said, it ended up picking up. The writing was fine. It wasn't like mind blowing for me. It wasn't like the best romance I'd ever read. It was just a cool read. And sometimes that's okay. And so, with that, based on my skill of read now, read soon, read when you have time, or read when you want, or read if you want, I ended up giving this book a read when you have time. So, it was okay. All right, another book I ended up reading was Rhythms Blues by Kimberly Brown. If you're into romance, you've probably heard of this book and this author. It was everywhere, and I just think the cover is stunning. So I know at some point I'm going to get it in my collection just for the cover. But with this, we have the story of Rhythm. I said she's a baddie dating a rapper, but she has no desire to be in the spotlight. They knew each other from school back when he was busted. And so eventually they reconnect. She moved to LA for him. And he helped her open her rehabilitation business or something similar. However, their relationship is now on the rocks as she suspects him of cheating with his label mate. Eventually, the relationship ends, but not without drama. And in the process of this, she meets someone new who completely sweeps her off her feet, and we are with her on the entire journey. And so in my notes, I said this was sweet. I like the multiple perspectives. The drama always feels manageable and not like it's about to take you out. It was a really good and easy read. I appreciated the flow and trajectory of the story, though sometimes I did feel like an epilogue, can be a cheat code. But here it was fine. I said Kimberly Brown writes romance really well, so the pacing and storyline all made sense. And there are always tidbits of knowledge that I end up highlighting and pondering on when I read her works. Absolutely. And again, I talk about the cover being striking, and I appreciated the diversity of the sex scenes. That is true, because sometimes they can just be routine and rudimentary, and I'm just like, spice it up. But here, I did like that they were different. I appreciated the story. I like Kimberly Brown as a romance writer. I know that I'm always going to have a good time. I know that it's always going to be a well put together story with good writing, good pacing. These are not things I doubt. Not my favorite book that I've read from her, but that's okay. I'm still going through her catalog to see if one of them will top the one that's my top, which is It Takes a Man. But I enjoyed it. No complaints. The story was good. I felt like the pacing was good. It was believable. The drama was just the right amount, not over the top. I liked how it all came together. And so I enjoyed it. So for that reason, I ended up giving this a read soon. All right, so for this next section, I am going to be talking about one author and many books. The first book we're going to talk about is Capone III, which is the final book in the Capone series. I talked about this series. I first introduced it when I talked about the books I read in February, which is when I started reading it. And so for this one, I'm going to talk about this book alone. For the other ones, I'll talk about them as series for the most part. All right, so it's a little hard because they all kind of start running together for me because it's like part one, part two, part three of each character gets their own series, but they're all interwoven. But I know this is the last book, and we get to see Capone and Aaron still building their relationship. And this really sets up Cappadonna coming home. So Cappadonna is Capone's twin brother, who was his partner in crime, who had got incarcerated for 15 years. And so Capone really had to put the family and the family business on his back to expand, gain profit for them, and his twin has been locked down, but he set them up very nicely. So this book is kind of that bridge. We get to figure out what's happening with Erin, all of those connected to her. And that's what we see here. So in my notes, I ended up saying that one, I did feel like we didn't get enough Capone here. I really enjoyed the parts that had Capone. And I was like, how am I reading his book and still missing him? He didn't get enough face time here. I said the storyline makes sense to carry the story forward, but it's almost as if we get too many perspectives at the loss of time with the main character. At times it felt repetitive, like, girl, we remember. I know authors do that in order to bring readers up to speed in case they didn't read the other books, but here I was like, we read them. I remember. So for me, sometimes it was a little annoying. I did feel as if sometimes the characters make emotionally immature decisions and decisions that go against the progression that they should have made by this point. Like they're all grown. For instance, there was one point when Erin was really upset with Capone and she told him if he left the hospital, she was good on him. And I was like, he has real life concerns that he needs to get away and check on. So I didn't support that. Eventually, they worked it out. I said overall, I ended up really enjoying it, especially the parts that included Capone. I must admit the ending was a little mid for me. Now, Jahquel is kind of known for those endings that reel you in and make you want to read the next book. And when she hits them, she hits them. Like the ones that hit for me are like, wow. But this one was mid for me. We in this one we get Cappadonna who's out. He's been out for a little while and he doesn't tell his girlfriend that he's been out. He kind of pulls up on her surprisingly. And so we know why he's annoyed with her and upset with her, but she doesn't. And so for me, I felt like just two more sentences would have really brought that ending home and sent it over the top. But it was fine. I said, either way, I'm ready to see what the twin who puts the in unhinged is truly about. I also like the growth of Capri and what we've learned about her personality. The sex scenes were kind of mid, and I get it's not erotica, but spice it up. So what I said about the other one. But I thought overall the series was good. For this book, I ended up giving it a read soon because I was still in it and invested, and I really liked learning more about Cappadonna. Now, continuing that series. So this one I'm kind of going to talk about as a series, and then I'll tell you what I thought about each book. So the Cappadonna series itself had 5 books, and this is where we get the story of Cappadonna being home, him really trying to figure out what his life will be now. And now that he's on the outside, Capone is like, hey, I'm going to focus on my family. I no longer want to be head of the business like that. You got it from here. And so we get to watch Cappadonna come home and wreak havoc. He's kind of known as the more intense, unhinged twin, and we do get to see that. That was fun to read. We also get the story of him and Alia, who eventually becomes his wife. So Capone converted to Islam while he was in jail, and he gets out. He knows her from when he was incarcerated. He runs into her while he is out, and he just knows it's a sign from Allah. And so we get to watch their storyline. Alia is in a horrible situation. Just wow, the mind that created that, the darkness of it all. But Capone is really locked in with her, but he understands that like he can't force her to leave the situation, but he lets her know at every turn, I'm here for you when you're ready. And so eventually, they do come together. We get to see them build a life. It's a beautiful, there's a lot of drama going on around them with the family to keep that storyline progressing. I did have some cons. I said sometimes, maybe the flashbacks needed a setup and the transitions and introductions or something to really bring it home. I also noted that I think Cappadonna is hilarious. I said he's funny AF. It was just so much. I like that book too. I felt like, because book one, I felt like, Cap had been known for being unhinged. And I was like, I need to see it. And I have in my notes, I say, yeah, this is the boogeyman energy I expected from Cap. So I was like, he was a little bit off his rocker for the first one, but after all the talk, I need to see that action. And that's what we got in this one. I also really enjoyed Kincaid. One thing I did know about Jahquel, you recognize a trend. I said she loves a shootout. You're going to get a shootout in every book. Like, they be coming out of nowhere. You don't really expect them, but you know that at some point a shootout will happen. And I'm not even mad at it. You would think I might be annoyed with it, but because I'm like, how many ways can you write a shootout? But they're different every time. And it's fiction, so they're not always the most realistic, but I appreciate it. And so continuing on with the series, overall, I really enjoyed it. I feel like, people always ask the question, do you choose Capone? Do you choose Cappadonna? And they're different. They are different. I think, Capone is a little more chill. So that's a little bit more my speed. I like him a little crazy, not too crazy. But overall, I thought it was a good series. I won't go into all of my notes. We'd be here forever. But I do want to tell y'all what I thought of each book. So for Cappadonna 1, I ended up giving that a read soon. Cappadonna 2, I gave it a read now. So I thought that one was really good. Cappadonna 2.5, I gave it a read soon. Cappadonna 3, read soon. Cappadonna 3.5, read when you have time. I do say in my notes, I said I love Capri real bad. That's my girl. And then I said Cappadonna is also his daddy's son, Lil Loco. But I said at this point, it is too many shootouts. But I said, every other day there's a shootout. I don't buy. Oh, this was my issue with this book. I said, I don't buy Alia's ambitions as a writer's storyline. I was like, now she just offing people. I mean, no, it doesn't quite track. It kind of felt like a filler book, this one. And I felt like the storyline about how the CO, Dr. Hassan King, got back in that night to do what he did didn't quite make sense to me. I said, that's easily traceable. And I said she did often repeat that they were twins, but they were completely different. And I just felt like that was repetitive. She said that way too often. And I also, yeah, this was my big issue with the book. I said that I get that Alia is Cappadonna's whole world, but I felt like the book needed to end with Cap. It needed to end with Cap being the final voice that we heard, and it was Alia, and that kind of took away from it for me. But I said this was definitely a setup for the Capri series with the storyline, and overall, I thought it was cool. But I enjoyed it, it didn't make me want to stop reading the series. So of course we hopped right into Capri. Capri has 6 books. I am currently reading the 6th one now. So I will talk about the first 5 that I read. Overall, I'll give the series overview for what I've read so far, and then I will talk about how I felt about each book. So with Capri, Capri's storyline is in a perfect world. We watched Capri and her brother's books go through it, with her mother, with the men that she's chosen, with her friendships. Capri has gone through it. She's had it hard. She's been ambitious. She's smart. She's a lawyer. She's kind, right? She shows up for people, but people have just put her through it for their selfish reasons and dismissed her and been hard on her. It's just she's had a challenging time. And so at the end of Cappadonna, we really get to see Capri setting out to go on a 1 year journey of traveling solo to really try to find her inner peace and inner happiness. And Kwamir does recommend this, but it ends up being a great idea and she does it. And so that's what we pick up with the first book of her getting ready to head back home after this year of exploration. And so I said that I really appreciated that Capri's taking the time she needed to be in a better place. And as someone who has moved abroad alone, it is hard and scary and sometimes lonely, but you will learn yourself and what you're made of. And I really appreciated the relationship, the development between Kwamir and Capri here. I said I appreciated that he never pushes her, but always makes his intentions clear, especially when he's asked. So Kwamir is Capri's current romance interest. They've known each other for a long time. While this 1 year journey, they are developing a friendship. She really wanted him to ask her to stay, and he didn't. And I love that. So, he's like, he had to let her go. He had to let her heal. And he kind of told her, like, when it's time, right? When you're ready, we're going to do it. But you're not ready. Like, right? You're not the woman I need you to be right now. And he let her go off and heal and find that inner peace within herself. And so in this book, we're watching them have that friendship, but over that year's time, they've still stayed in contact. That she expected they wouldn't, but he kind of was her rock when she was lonely and missed home. And so now it's like, do we touch that? They both develop feelings, but it's like, is that just me? Did he have them? He's like, was that just me? It's just friend code. Like, did she have them? And so that's what's going on here. But I really appreciated the connection. This is the only book that's really made me tear up so far. And for this one, I said, Kwamir was a little crazy and delusional here because there's one scene where he's like in the back of her car. Spoiler alert. And I said, not Kwamir crazy and delusional for real. But after all of that, when they have their first sexual encounter, I was like, they got me crying after the first sexual connection and him holding her tighter and just what they're saying to each other and what it means for both of them because they were also both celibate for that year and they stayed that way. Again, I talk about there being a shootout in every book and I said, bruh, hang it up. And I was like, I didn't know how I felt about that ending. I didn't know. So for that one, I ended up giving it a read soon. Even though I didn't love the ending, I loved learning about Quamir and Capri's storyline. And also in this series, because I don't want to dwell and break down every book, but in this series, we also get Capri kind of working a system. She's an ADA, assistant district attorney, in order to make sure her brothers don't go to jail for something that has happened. Make sure Cappadonna doesn't go back to jail. Make sure Capone never sees jail. Make sure the family is good. And so with that, that's a big part of the storyline. And we're watching her do that while also building her relationship with Quamir. And it really is beautiful. Capri is one of my favorite characters, so I've been mostly enjoying watching the story unfold. For Capri 1.5, I did give it a read when you have time. For this one, I have found with the Capri series, I feel like the one point, or like first part of the book, I've enjoyed more like the setup, and then for some reason, it all coming together on the end has been a little disappointing for me. But Capri 2, I ended up giving it a read soon. Capri 2.5, I ended up giving it a read when you have time. And Capri 3, I ended up giving it a read soon. And so I'm currently reading 3.5 right now. I don't know where I will land, but those are all the books that I read. So this didn't take as long as I thought it would. It might still end up being a little long video, but I'm excited for the books I'm reading in April. What are y'all reading? What did y'all read in March? Let me know in the comment section down below. And yeah, that's what I wanted to come on here and update y'all on what I've been reading. I do have a poll over on the community tab where you can vote on the type of videos that you want to see on the channel, whether you want individual book reviews, whether you want what you got today, that monthly wrap up video, or if you would rather see book videos or book reviews based on genre. So instead of it being this way, I would have had one book review on like contemporary fiction, and I would have had another one of like romance. So, you can go over there, vote, let me know what you think, let me know what you want. But that's it for me today. Hopefully, you all enjoyed the books that I discussed. As always, I'm Shay. The channel is MsMalcolmHughes. I hope that you all are being kind to yourselves, being kind to each other, and drinking plenty of water. Until the next one, I hope that everyone is well. Again, this is the channel where we believe that books are sometimes better than people. And I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.